Chapter 3. Katie and Joe woke up later than usual the following morning. Before doing anything else, they took a shower together. They washed each other, and then Joe stood behind Katie and put his arms around her. Katie put her hands on his as he slid one hand down to her stomach and said, "Can you believe what we made together?" Katie turned around and kissed Joe passionately. They made love in the shower. When they finished, they dried themselves, went to bed, and made love again. They lay in bed for a while, and then Katie said, "I suppose we should get dressed and go back to the hospital. Do you think Ashley needs more healing?" "I think she can survive without further treatments, but there is more that I can do. I would like to get her back to 100% before we return home." "It will be hard with people around," Katie said. "You will need to do it a little at a time when she is alone. That will give us time to investigate what happened to her." "Do you think there is something we can do that the police can't do?" "I don't know. We solved the last case without much help from the police. We got lucky. Plus, the police were hampered by their own captain. We worked hard, and I am proud of what we accomplished. Don't diminish what we did." "I'm sorry, Katie. I remember you feeling like a failure, and I don't want you ever to feel that way again. I worry what will happen if you get your hopes up and we fail to find the killer. I was wrong to feel that way, and it won't happen this time. If we fail, I will at least know we tried." Joe kissed Katie and said, "Okay, my love, it will be fun working on a case with you again." They got up and got ready. After getting dressed, they went downstairs and had breakfast at the hotel restaurant. They then headed to the hospital. Ashley's room was a full house. John and Henry were there with the kids. Bob Martin was also there. When he saw Katie, he hugged her and said, "It's so nice to see you again, Katie. It's a shame you had to end your honeymoon this way." "At least Ashley is okay," Katie said. "I'm very happy about that. It seems someone made a big mistake with her diagnosis." "Yes, that must be what happened," Katie said. "Well, I just came to check on Ashley. The room is getting a bit full, so I should probably return to work." "Before you leave, I would like to talk to you," Katie said. "Of course," Bob said before leaving the room, followed by Katie and Joe. Joe closed the door behind him, and Bob said, "What's up?" "Well, someone shot Ashley and murdered her mother. Do you have an investigator working on the case?" "Unfortunately, Katie, after you left, we've been having trouble finding an investigative reporter worth a damn. We moved Kevin into the role, but he couldn't cut it. Besides, it looks like it was a random mugging. Their purses were left behind, but their cash was taken. It's a rough area. It was probably a drug addict looking for money. It will be hard to find someone like that." That was exactly what they said about the last case, and we proved them wrong. This isn't your last case, Katie. Sometimes bad people do bad things to random people. That very well may be the case, but I still want to look into it. Ashley deserves to know who killed her mother and why. Bob looked at Katie, slowly nodded, and said, "Okay, what can I do?" "If we find something, we may need Billy's help. Will you ask him to cooperate with us?" "I can't do that, but I can hire you back temporarily. Your old desk is still empty. It's yours until you find the killer or give up looking. If you do find something, it will be your duty to report it for Channel 23 News." She shook Bob's hand. "You've got yourself a deal." She hugged him and said, "Thank you so much." Joe and Katie returned to Ashley's room. When John saw them come in, he said, "Ashley would like to spend some time with her friends, meaning you, of course, so we are going to head home for a while. I need to make lunch for the kids anyway. They stayed home from school today." When everyone left, Katie sat on one side of Ashley and Joe sat on the other. "Are you ready for more healing?" Joe asked. "I sure am," she said. "Wait," Katie said. "Before we start, let's go over what happened yesterday. Why were you visiting your mother on a weekday during working hours?" Ashley thought for a moment and said, "I think she asked me to see her, but I don't remember why." "Wait, I do remember. She wanted to show me something. She thought our news station would be interested in it." "What was it?" Katie asked. Ashley thought for a long while and finally said, "I'm sorry, I can't remember." "It's okay," Joe said. "It might come to you. We should probably start now while nobody is here." "Good idea," Ashley said. "Let's do this." They held hands, and Joe connected with Ashley again. He worked to repair the damage he had not been able to fix the last time. After about 30 minutes, Ashley sat up and screamed. Katie stood up and grabbed her arms. What is it? What happened? I saw something. A man in a ski mask. He shot Mom. Is this a memory? Katie asked. Yes, I think so. I remember him shooting Mom twice and then turning the gun on me. Katie looked at Joe, who said, she had a little swelling in her brain. It was probably from falling and hitting her head on the pavement. It's possible some of her memories returned when the swelling went down. What was the man in the mask wearing? Katie asked. Ashley thought briefly, saying, he was wearing a blue ski mask and a black jacket. A leather jacket, I think. Yes, a leather jacket. That's good. Do you remember anything else? Katie asked. Yes. I remember meeting Mom in her office. I remember she took a folder from her top drawer and handed it to me. What was in the folder? Katie asked. Ashley thought very hard and finally shook her head. I don't remember. I can see the folder in my mind, but can't see what's in it. It's okay, Katie said. I think we've put you through enough for now. We'll come back later and check on you. Ashley grabbed Katie's hand and reached out to take Joe's hand. You two have been a godsend. I don't think I could ever repay you for what you've done. Seeing you alive and well is more than payment enough, Katie said. Ashley reached out her hands, inviting them for a group hug. They said their goodbyes and left. When they got to Katie's car, Joe asked, what do you want to do now? Let's go to the scene of the crime. Joe and Katie headed to the social services building where Victoria Hall worked. On the way, Katie said, it feels great that we were able to help Ashley. I should say, you were able to help Ashley. We are a team, Katie. Yes, but you are the healer. If it weren't for you doing the research, I would have never known I had the ability to heal anyone but myself. And if you weren't near death after that explosion, I would not have learned how to do it. I guess you're right, Katie said. We are a good team. We sure are, and to answer your question, helping Ashley was a fantastic feeling. I want to help other people too, but there is no way I can do that without them learning my secret. Yes, that is a problem. Maybe there is a way around it. Oh yeah? How would that work? I have no idea. Maybe we can talk to Mrs. Babick while we are in town. She might know something. That's a great idea, Katie. Even if she can't help, it would be nice to see her again. Yes, she's a nice lady. When they reached the social services building, they parked on the street in front of the entrance. They walked past several people hanging around the front door and went inside. Katie said to a woman behind the counter, Hi, my name is Katie, and this is Joe. We're from Channel 23 News. We're investigating the murder of Victoria Hall. Oh, yes. We are all very saddened by what happened. Do you know if there were any witnesses? Katie asked. I don't think so, but I only work part-time and wasn't here when it happened. Let me get you someone who might know more than me. She picked up her phone, dialed a number, and said, Hi, Holly. Could you please come out to the lobby? There are a couple of reporters here asking about Victoria. 20 seconds later, a woman approached the lobby. She was in her mid-30s with dark, curly hair and glasses that Joe thought looked like a style women wore back in the 60s. He figured the style came back around. Either that or the woman was wearing her grandmother's glasses. Hi, I'm Holly Johnson, she said, and held out her hand. They shook hands, and Katie said, I'm Katie, and this is Joe. We are from Channel 23 News. First, we would like to express our condolences for your loss. I knew Victoria personally, so I know how you feel. You did? How did you know her? I'm friends with her daughter, Ashley. Oh, that's right. I remember Victoria telling me about her daughter's career at the television station. She was very proud of her. Were you here when her daughter came to visit her? Joe asked. Yes, I was in my office, next to Victoria's office, but I must have been busy because I didn't notice anything until I heard a commotion in the hallway. Someone was yelling that they heard gunshots in the parking lot. People were initially afraid to go outside, but slowly they started venturing out to see what happened. I believe it was Mark who found the bodies. I mean, he found Victoria and Ashley. Who's Mark? Katie asked. Mark Jones. He's our IT guy. Can we speak with him? Katie asked. Sure, follow me. She led them down a hallway and turned right. They went to the end of that hallway, and Holly knocked on the door to the right before opening it. A young man sat behind a desk that held 3 computer monitors. He was young with straight dark hair that was somewhat messy. Joe thought he looked similar to Billy, the computer nerd at Katie's office. "Mark," Holly said. "This is Katie and Joe. They are from the news station. They want to talk to you about Victoria." He stood up and shook their hands. "What's there to talk about? Somebody shot her, and now she's dead. I just happened to find her first. I didn't see it happen." "Where were you when you heard the shots?" Joe asked. "I was in the hallway near the back door. I just finished doing a software upgrade on the computer in the meeting room." "How many shots did you hear?" Katie asked. 3. It was bang, bang, then a pause, then another bang." "Did you go outside right away?" Katie asked. "No, I yelled that I heard gunshots. I then yelled for someone to call 911. I looked out the back door to see if I could see the shooter, but saw no one. By then, several people were looking out the door with me. After a minute or so, I decided the person was probably gone, so I went outside. A few other people came out behind me." "Please don't take this the wrong way," Joe said. "It just seems unusual that a computer nerd would be the first one out the door in a dangerous situation." Katie looked at Joe. She would have been surprised 3 months ago, but she now knew Joe was not the best at being diplomatic. "I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek, and I know a little about guns." That was the sound of a 9mm pistol. "It's a great weapon at close range, but you couldn't hit a barn door with it at 100 feet. That's an exaggeration, but the point is, I wasn't too worried." "Since you know about guns, how do we know you didn't shoot them and then run inside and sound the alarm?" Joe asked. "Because several people rushed out into the hallway as soon as they heard the shots. Also, I found Victoria and her daughter at least 40 yards from the back door, maybe more. There would be no way I could get back inside so quickly if I were the shooter." "Will you show us where you found them?" Katie asked. "Sure. Follow me," Mark said, and led the group outside. They walked past several cars until they reached an area marked off by police tape. It happened right here. There was a car here at the time. Victoria was lying on the ground on the passenger side, and her daughter was on the driver's side. Joe looked around. There were several vans in the parking lot, including 2 nearby. They would have made good cover for an attacker. "Do most of these vehicles here belong to employees?" Joe asked. "Yes," Holly said. "I would guess over 90% of them." "Is there assigned parking?" "No, but people usually park in the same place." "Why?" "I just want to know what this parking lot looked like at the time of the murder." "Mark, did you notice if these 2 vans were here yesterday?" Mark thought for a moment and said, "Yes, I believe they were." "Do you think someone hid behind one of these vans and ambushed them?" Katie asked. "Perhaps," Joe said. "Or maybe they used them to disappear after the shooting. Either way, it looks easy for a person to go unnoticed in this parking lot." "Can either of you think of a reason someone would want to shoot Victoria?" "She was a nice lady," Mark said. "I don't know anyone who didn't like her." "I agree," said Holly. "It couldn't have been anyone who works here, and I doubt any of her clients would want to hurt her." "Her door says, senior caseworker. Does that mean she was like a supervisor, or did she have her own clients?" Katie asked. "She had her own people that she worked with, but she also helped other caseworkers when they needed help," Holly said. "Did she ever talk to you about problem clients?" Katie asked. "Sure. Often, she would talk about an issue she had in the past, if it was similar to a problem I was facing at the time." "What about anything recently?" "If she was having a problem with someone recently, she didn't mention it to me, although one of her clients did die recently. It was an overdose, I think." "Really?" Joe said. "Who was that?" "I'm afraid we can't give out personal information about our clients." "But he's dead," Joe said. "Who's going to care?" "I'm sorry," Holly repeated. "My hands are tied." "Well, thank you both for your time," Katie said. She was about to hand her a business card, but remembered that after she quit, she no longer needed the cards, so she threw them away. Now she wished she had kept a few. They followed Holly back through the building. Joe looked up, searching for cameras, but only saw 2 in the lobby. Katie thanked Holly again before she and Joe left. When they returned to the car, Katie said, I think we should talk to Gabe. We're here to see Captain Garcia, Katie said after they arrived at the police station. The police officer behind the counter was big. He was several inches taller than Joe and quite muscular. He did not look like someone who belonged behind a counter. Joe wondered what he had done wrong to get assigned the receptionist job. The captain is very busy, the officer said. Is there something I can help you with? I'm afraid not. It's about the Victoria Hall murder. Please let him know Katie and Joe Novak are here. The officer picked up his phone and dialed an extension number. After several seconds, he said, Hi, Captain. There's a Kathy and Joe Novak here to see you. Katie, Katie said. Sorry, there's a Katie and Joe Novak here to see you. What should I tell them? After several more seconds, he hung up the phone and said, Follow me. He led them past several desks until they reached the captain's office. Go right in. He's expecting you. Katie opened the door and said, Hi, Gabe. They both walked into the office, and Joe said, Wow, Gabe, this is much nicer than your last office. You mean my cubicle without the cube? That's the one. My wife likes it too. She visits me for lunch sometimes, and now we can close the door. Joe looked at all the glass windows and said, I think you need curtains for that. That's not what we do in here, Gabe said. She just likes the privacy. Of course, a nice office isn't free. A lot of extra work came with these 4 walls. I'm sure you can handle it, Gabe, Katie said. Every day is a challenge, he said, and motioned for them to have a seat. So, what did that big guy do to end up behind a desk? Joe asked. Arnold? He didn't do anything wrong, if that's what you mean. Everyone takes turns filling in when needed. Arnold? Katie said. Is that really his name? No, his real name is George, but people around here have started calling him Arnold for obvious reasons, and the name is stuck. I assume you two have started your investigation. Is that why you're here? Yes, Katie said. I'm officially working for Channel 23 News again. Wow, you got your old job back? What about the resort? It's just temporary. If we find anything, the station will get the story. In exchange, we will be able to use the station's resources. So, how can I help you? You said you have videos from Victoria's office. Can we see them? Joe asked. Sure, Gabe said, but there is nothing useful on them. He opened a folder on his computer, found one of the video files, and double-clicked it to start playing. He turned the screen around and walked around the desk so he could watch it with Katie and Joe. This is the lobby looking at the front door. It starts about a minute before Ashley arrives and ends a couple of minutes after she leaves. He let the video run and when it was over said, Unless you see something I don't, there is nothing useful on it. I don't see anything useful, Katie said. Do you, Joe? Joe shook his head and said, I saw 2 cameras in the lobby. Were there any others? No, just those 2. So you saw the office this morning? Did you learn anything? The man who found the body said the shots he heard were from a 9mm pistol. Is that correct? Katie asked. That's right, Gabe said. Is it hard to know that just by listening? You would have to spend a lot of time on the gun range to get used to the different sounds. Honestly, I probably couldn't distinguish between a 9mm and a .357. He could have also guessed. A 9mm pistol is a common weapon these days. What about the second video? Joe asked. Oh yes, Gabe said before walking around his desk to start it. The angle of this video showed the lobby with the door to Victoria's office in the background. They watched for about a minute before seeing Ashley walk to Victoria's office, open the door, and enter. The door closed behind her and remained closed for about 4 minutes. When it opened, Ashley and Victoria came out and disappeared off the right side of the screen. Joe thought he saw something interesting, but decided it wasn't worth mentioning, so he just asked, Can we get a copy of that? Sure, Gabe said, pulling a thumb drive from his desk. He copied the video onto it and handed it to Joe. Thank you, Joe said, before handing the memory card to Katie. There is one other thing, Katie said. Ashley remembered why she was at her mother's office. She said her mom called her and said she had a potential news story for the station. Gabe looked surprised and said, Really? Perhaps you should have started with that. Sorry, we asked what she was working on, but the client's files are confidential. Do you think you can get a subpoena or warrant or whatever you call it and find out what she was working on? I'll try, Gabe said, but I need to get a statement from Ashley before a judge will sign off on it. I'll head to the hospital after lunch and talk to her. Okay, Gabe, we appreciate any help you can give us. I consider you two friends. It's my pleasure to help you. I also want to find the person who killed Ashley's mother just as much as you do. You have Katie's number. Give us a call if you learn anything, Joe said. I will, Gabe said. Last Rites continues on the next video. For more information on this book and others by this author, please visit charleshuss.com.